Hey guys, welcome to my channel, No Nonsense Book Reviews. I'm Ann Catherine, your book reviewer, and today we will be reviewing the Ascendance series by Jennifer A. Nielsen. It started actually as a trilogy, so when I read them when I was about 13 or 14, there was just 3, and it was the Ascendance trilogy, but then she later decided to write more, so now it's a series. First one is The False Prince, and then The Runaway King, The Shadow Throne, go to the Captive Kingdom, and then the Shattered Castle. So there's just 5 out right now, and I'm not sure if she's going to continue writing them or not. So before I jump into my unbiased pros and possible issues, I'm just going to be honest. I love these books. I've reread them many, many times. Which is why I'm reviewing them, one of the first books that I'm reviewing, because I've read them so many times. I don't need to reread them to tell you about them. But there are some possible issues I could see parents having, so I wanted to share those with you. But before we get to those, we'll jump into the pros. They're just highly entertaining. One of my sisters recently, who's older than me, asked for just a series of books that she could just kind of read and forget about life and just enjoy herself, and I gave her these ones and she really enjoyed them. That being said, they're not for adults. They're probably, I would say, maybe 12 to 15 is the prime age range. This is my opinion, but if you're 11-year-old or 17-year-old is reading them, that's not really a problem. So, like I said, highly entertaining. They're very action-packed, so the time period is in, I would say, like a medieval time. It's not based in reality, so it's not in Europe or anything. But there's kings and princes. The first book starts with a young boy named Sage, and he is part of this plot to put a false prince on the throne, because the real prince disappeared and was killed years ago. I just wanted to stop and say I am going to spoil the ending of at least the first book, because I'm assuming that you as the parent don't mind if the ending is spoiled. But if your child is around that's going to read it, then they're not going to want to hear this. So the prince died several years ago and was lost at sea. And there is an evil man who is going to put a false prince on the throne that looks like the real prince, and he's going to train him how to act like a prince so that he can be pretty much the puppeteer behind this false prince. So Sage is part of this program, and he's being trained. He's very rebellious and stubborn and gets into all sorts of scrapes and gets in trouble a lot. But ultimately, he is chosen to be the false prince. But then, plot twist, he actually is the prince and has just been in hiding all these years. It's super epic. I just got chills. The first book is so great. Because pretty much all of the books have like crazy plot twists. Like you think that this is where it's going the whole time, and then it switches. So that's really fun to just read a book that keeps you entertained and on your toes, and even rereading it years after the first time. It's so good. I feel like all the characters, other than the ones that are supposed to be bad, are really likable. There's a lot of character development from some of the characters that start out maybe not quite so likable, but then you really genuinely see that their change is over time of becoming a better person, and you begin to care about them. In the third book, there's a character that dies, and I cried as a child. I don't cry now because I see it coming, but it is very sad. So you really get invested in these characters. She does a great job of making you care about them. Let's see, what other pros are there? I just feel like it's just a story. She writes an amazing story. In my opinion, I think she kind of should have kept it a trilogy. Like, the first 3 are awesome. And then the 4th and 5th one were good. But to me, they just weren't as great as the first 3. But I would still recommend reading them. Like, if your child's enjoying them, I would get the 4th and 5th one for them. But the first 3 are the best. So we will go into possible issues. So they are action-packed. There is a lot of action in them. There's like sword fighting and knife things. I think it's the second one that the main character, he gets his legs broken and he's like thrown in this prison. And it's one of those many, many situations in the book where it's a life or death. There's no way out of it. But he figures out a way. He always does. And he like climbs a cliff with 2 broken legs and then fights the Pirate King and wins, of course, because he always does. So there are things like that where there's a lot of fighting. He gets his legs broken, but it's not written in a super gory, descriptive way. It's never like, and then the crack of his bones and blood dripping. Like, it's not gross. That I can remember, there isn't any type of cursing, explicit cursing, but they say, and Jaren cursed at the king or whatever, but they don't actually say what he said. So, let's see, the violence, the kind of cursing, there are love interests. There's a couple different characters that get married. There's nothing sexual written in the book other than like, and he kissed her. I feel like that was tastefully done. The age range I think the books are for is probably 12 years old, 12 to 15. Honestly, if you're looking for a good book, though, as an adult, I think they're entertaining. And you know your child best, so if you think your 10-year-old is ready to read them, go for it. But yeah, I would love to hear if any of you guys have read the books and what your thoughts are, and maybe if you have an idea of what I should review next. So I hope this has been helpful, and happy reading.